I'm Morgan, 32 years old, and last Christmas changed my family forever. Growing up in a middle-class Michigan household, I learned to appreciate what we had. Now, as a single mom to 8-year-old Lily, every dollar counts. When Mom suggested a $30 limit on Christmas gifts for everyone, especially the grandkids, I was relieved. All the grandchildren will be treated equally this year, she promised. Little did I know that promise would shatter Christmas morning when my sister's kids unwrapped brand new iPhones while my daughter clutched her modest art set. Before I continue this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. And hit that like and subscribe button if family favoritism has ever touched your life. To understand why those phones felt like such a betrayal, you need to know more about our family. After my divorce 3 years ago, I've been raising Lily on my own while working as a 4th grade teacher at Westbrook Elementary. My salary barely covers our rent, groceries, and utilities for our small 2-bedroom apartment. Meanwhile, my older sister Rebecca lives in a sprawling 5-bedroom house in the affluent part of town with her husband Derek, a pharmaceutical sales executive, and their 2 kids, Aiden 12 and Madison 10. Growing up, the favoritism was always there, just below the surface. Rebecca was the achiever, valedictorian, homecoming queen, college graduate with honors. I was the creative one, the dreamer who pursued teaching because I loved helping children learn. My father, James, was the equalizer in our family. He'd always make sure I got special time with him when Mom was fawning over Rebecca's latest accomplishment. Different strengths, he'd tell me, are still strengths. But Dad passed away 3 years ago from a sudden heart attack. It was the same month my ex-husband Brian announced he'd been having an affair with his coworker and wanted a divorce. The double loss sent me reeling, and in the aftermath, Mom gravitated even more toward Rebecca and her perfect family. Since then, the inequality has grown more obvious. At Lily's birthday, she'd get a $20 gift card from Grandma, while Aiden and Madison would receive gaming systems or designer clothes. At family gatherings, Mom would gush over every mediocre drawing Madison brought home but barely glance at Lily's school awards. I tried to discuss it with Mom several times, but she'd always dismiss my concerns as oversensitivity. "Morgan, you're imagining things," she'd say. "I love all my grandchildren the same." This past November had been particularly rough financially. My car needed a new transmission, wiping out the small savings I'd accumulated. I was worried about Christmas, so when Mom called a family meeting and suggested we all scale back this year, I felt immense relief. "I think we should set a $30 limit on gifts for everyone," Mom had said during our Sunday dinner at her house. "The economy's tough, and the spirit of Christmas isn't about expensive presents." Rebecca had initially protested. "Mom, we've already started shopping. The kids have expectations." "That's exactly the problem," Mom had responded, surprising me with her firmness. "All the grandchildren should be treated equally, and we should focus on thoughtfulness rather than price tags." I'd nearly cried with relief. For once, Lily wouldn't feel the stark difference between her gifts and her cousins. I spent the next weeks carefully planning Lily's presents within my budget. A set of secondhand chapter books she'd been wanting, homemade cookies in decorative jars for everyone, and I'd splurged on a beautiful journal with colored pencils since she loved drawing. I'd also spent evenings crafting personalized ornaments for each family member after Lily went to bed. Lily had been so understanding when I explained our tight Christmas budget. Unlike her cousins, who submitted Christmas lists featuring the latest technology and designer brands, my daughter had asked only for books and art supplies. "It's okay, Mommy," she'd said while helping me wrap presents at our kitchen table. "Christmas is about being together, right? Like you always say." Her maturity at 8 years old both warmed my heart and made me sad. She'd grown up too quickly, learning to want less because she knew we couldn't afford more. While Aiden and Madison whined about not getting the exact shade of iPhone they wanted, Lily would treasure a $5 coloring book for months. The night before Christmas Eve, as I packed our overnight bags for our stay at Mom's house, Lily bounced around our apartment with excitement. "Do you think Grandma will make her special hot chocolate?" she asked, carefully placing her handmade gifts into a gift bag. "And will Uncle Derek tell his funny stories?" "I'm sure she will, sweetie," I replied, double-checking that I had everything. And yes, Uncle Derek always has new stories about his work trips. As I zipped up our bags, I felt genuinely hopeful about the holiday. With the gift limit in place, maybe this would be the Christmas where Lily didn't feel like the lesser grandchild. Maybe we could focus on being together rather than what was under the tree. The next morning, we loaded up my aging Honda Civic, the heater working overtime against the Michigan December chill. Christmas carols played on the radio as we drove the 30 minutes to Mom's suburban home, and Lily sang along, her excitement building with every mile. "This is going to be the best Christmas," she declared, hugging her favorite stuffed rabbit to her chest. "I think so too, baby," I said, glancing at her in the rearview mirror and hoping with all my heart that it would be true. Mom's two-story colonial looked like something from a Hallmark movie when we pulled into the driveway. Icicle lights hung from the gutters. A wreath adorned with red and gold ornaments decorated the front door, and the bay window revealed a massive Christmas tree covered in twinkling lights and heirloom ornaments. "Grandma's house looks so pretty," Lily exclaimed, pressing her face against the car window. As I gathered our bags from the trunk, I heard the distinctive purr of a luxury engine. Rebecca's white Range Rover turned into the driveway, coming to a stop behind my weathered Civic. The contrast between our vehicles was just one more visual reminder of our different circumstances. Rebecca emerged from the driver's seat, looking like she'd stepped out of a winter fashion catalog in her camel-colored cashmere coat and designer boot. Derek followed in his tailored wool peacoat, while Aiden and Madison bounded out in matching North Face jacket. "Auntie Morgan," Madison called out, running over to give me a quick hug before turning to Lily. "Hi, Lily. Do you like my new boots? They're GG's, the limited edition ones." Lily glanced down at her own secondhand snow boots and nodded politely. "They're really pretty." Rebecca air-kissed my cheek while eyeing my car. "Still driving that old thing, huh? You really should think about upgrading, Morgan. I worry about you and Lily breaking down somewhere unsafe." "It gets us where we need to go," I replied, forcing a smile. "The transmission's brand new." Before Rebecca could respond with another thinly veiled critique, Mom opened the front door and waved. "My babies are here," she called out, arms open wide. We all made our way to the porch, but it was Aiden and Madison who reached her first and received lengthy, enthusiastic hugs. "Look how tall you're getting, Aiden. And Madison, that haircut is absolutely adorable," Mom gushed before turning to Lily with a significantly more subdued, "Hello, sweetheart." Lily received a brief pat on the head before Mom was ushering everyone inside, exclaiming over Rebecca's coat and Derek's new watch. I swallowed the familiar sting and followed, carrying our bags. The interior of the house was even more elaborately decorated than outside. The 15-foot tree in the living room was professionally decorated with a color-coordinated theme of silver and blue, a far cry from the mismatched, sentimental decorations on our small apartment tree. Garland wound around the staircase, and holiday-scented candles perfumed the air with cinnamon and pine. "Dinner's almost ready," Mom announced. "I've made everyone's favorites. Rebecca, I did those scalloped potatoes you love. And Derek, there's a bourbon-glazed ham. Aiden and Madison, I baked those chocolate chip cookies for dessert." Lily looked up at me, and I knew she was wondering if Grandma had made any of her favorites. I squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. "Let me show you where you're sleeping," Mom said to Rebecca's family. "I've put you in the main guest room, and the kids can take the blue room with the twin beds." She turned to us almost as an afterthought. "Morgan, you and Lily can use the office. I've set up the pull-out sofa." The office pull-out had a notoriously uncomfortable mattress with a metal bar that pressed into your back all night. Rebecca caught my eye with a look that was almost apologetic, but she said nothing. During the elaborate Christmas Eve dinner, the conversation revolved almost entirely around Rebecca's family, Aiden's travel soccer team, Madison's dance recitals, Derek's recent promotion, and Rebecca's charity committee leadership. Madison's dance instructor says she's the most talented student in her age group, Rebecca boasted as Madison preened. She might be moved up to the advanced class after New Year's. "That's wonderful," Mom exclaimed. "We should look into getting you private lessons." I gently tried to redirect the conversation. Lily's art teacher selected one of her paintings for the school display. It was a beautiful winter scene. "That's nice," Mom replied absently before turning back to Madison. Tell me more about this advanced dance class, darling. Lily quietly pushed her food around her plate. Under the table, I squeezed her knee supportively. After dinner, we gathered in the living room for the traditional Christmas Eve board games. As usual, the game selection catered to Aiden and Madison's preferences. When Aiden suggested Monopoly, his favorite, everyone readily agreed, despite the fact that Lily had asked if we could play Uno, which was more age-appropriate for her. Majority rules, Rebecca said with a shrug when I pointed this out. 3 hours into the Monopoly game, with Aiden gloating over his hotel-covered properties, Lily had retreated to a corner of the room with a book she'd brought from home. No one except me seemed to notice or care that she wasn't participating. As the evening wound down, Mom brought out packages for everyone. Just a little Christmas Eve tradition. New pajamas for tonight. Rebecca and Derek received matching silk pajama sets. Aiden got a pair featuring his favorite sports team logo, and Madison squealed over her pink satin set with a matching eye mask. When Lily opened her package to reveal generic fleece pajamas from the discount store, 2 sizes too large, she still smiled and thanked her grandmother. "You're welcome, dear," Mom said distractedly, already focused on taking photos of Madison modeling her pajama set. Later, as I tucked Lily into the uncomfortable pull-out bed, I could tell she was trying to be brave. "Grandma probably just doesn't know what size I wear," she whispered, swimming in the oversized pajamas. "Probably not, sweetie," I agreed, smoothing her hair back from her forehead. "Aiden and Madison get more attention because they're older, right?" she asked, her perceptiveness breaking my heart. "When I'm older, will Grandma talk to me more too?" I struggled to find the right words. "Everyone shows love differently, Lily. And remember, tomorrow is Christmas, and Grandma promised all the gifts would be equal this year." After Lily fell asleep, I sat alone in Mom's darkened kitchen, nursing a cup of tea and fighting back tears. I thought about all the times I'd excused the favoritism, all the times I'd told Lily it wasn't personal. But it was personal. It hurt her, and it hurt me. Still, I held on to hope that tomorrow would be different. Mom had promised, after all. "Mommy, wake up! It's Christmas!" Lily's excited voice pierced through my fitful sleep. Despite the uncomfortable pull-out couch, her joy was contagious, and I found myself smiling as I opened my eyes to see her bouncing on the edge of the bed. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart," I said, sitting up and checking the time. It was 7:15 a.m., relatively late for Christmas morning with excited children. "Can we go see if Santa came?" Lily asked, her eyes bright with anticipation. "Let's brush our teeth first and make ourselves presentable," I suggested. "Then we'll see if everyone else is up." By the time we emerged from the office-turned-bedroom, the aroma of coffee and cinnamon rolls filled the house. We could hear excited voices from the living room. Clearly, we were the last ones awake. "There they are," Mom called out as we entered. She was already perfectly put together in a festive red sweater, her makeup flawless despite the early hour. "We've been waiting for you two sleepyheads." "Sorry," I apologized automatically. "We didn't realize everyone was up." "Aiden and Madison have been up since 6, Rebecca said, sipping from a mug of coffee. "We've been keeping them away from the presents until everyone was here." The Christmas tree was surrounded by a sea of wrapped gifts. I immediately noticed that the majority of them seemed to be clustered around 2 piles with gift tags for Aiden and Madison. But I tried to keep my observation to myself. After all, many of those were probably from their parents, not Mom. "Can we start?" Aiden asked impatiently, eyeing the largest packages. "Yes, let's begin," Mom agreed. "We'll go youngest to oldest this year, so Lily gets to start." Lily carefully selected a package from under the tree. One I recognized as being from me. She opened it meticulously, trying not to tear the paper too much. Inside was the journal and colored pencil set I'd purchased. "It's beautiful," she exclaimed, running her fingers over the embossed cover. "Thank you, Mommy." We proceeded through the gift exchange. I had brought my homemade gifts for everyone. Personalized ornaments, the cookie jars, and small framed photos of the kids for Mom, Rebecca, and Derek. They were received with polite thanks, though I noticed Mom's ornament was not immediately placed on the tree like the store-bought ones from Rebecca's family. Rebecca and Derek had given me an expensive-looking scarf that still had the clearance tag partially attached. and they'd given Lily a generic activity book that looked like a last-minute purchase. They had clearly spent significantly more on gifts for their own children and for Mom. As the adults opened their presents from Mom, I noticed that she had indeed kept to the agreement. She'd given me a pair of drugstore earrings, and Rebecca received a similar modest gift, a scented candle from the same store, judging by the wrapping. Derek got a tie, and we all thanked her appropriately. Then came time for the grandchildren to open their gifts from Grandma. My heart pounded as I watched Lily approach her single package from Mom. The box was small, about the size of a hardcover book. She unwrapped it carefully to reveal an art set with watercolors, brushes, and a small pad of paper. The price sticker was still partially visible, $24.99. "Thank you, Grandma," Lily said sincerely, already opening the set to examine the colors. "This is exactly what I wanted." "You're welcome, dear," Mom replied with a quick smile before turning to Rebecca's children with a strange gleam in her eye. "Now, Aiden and Madison, I have something special for you two." My stomach dropped as Mom disappeared into her bedroom and returned carrying 2 large, professionally wrapped boxes with enormous bows. The boxes were identical except for the name tags, and they were easily 10 times the size of Lily's gift. "These are from Grandma," she announced, placing them in front of my niece and nephew with a flourish. "Go ahead and open them." The room fell silent as Aiden and Madison tore into the elaborate wrapping. I felt Lily stiffen beside me as the boxes revealed the unmistakable packaging of the latest iPhones, complete with cases, screen protectors, and wireless earbuds. "Cool, the new iPhone," Aiden said, already opening the box with practiced ease. "Thanks, Grandma." "Yeah, thanks," Madison echoed, barely looking up as she removed her phone from its packaging. "This is the right color, too. Not the gross one Dad wanted to get me." I felt as though I'd been punched in the stomach. The phones had to cost at least $800 each, plus the accessories. That was more than 25 times what she'd spent on Lily. More than 25 times the agreed-upon limit. Lily's voice, small and confused, broke through my shock. "Grandma, why did Aiden and Madison get phones? Are they better than me?" The innocent question hung in the air. Rebecca had the decency to look uncomfortable, though Derek seemed oblivious, helping Aiden set up his new device. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Don't be silly, Lily. Aiden and Madison are older and need phones for school and their activities. You're too young for a phone, but you said all the grandchildren would get the same this year," I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady for Lily's sake. "We agreed on a $30 limit." "Well, this is different," Mom replied defensively. "The phones are a necessity, not really a Christmas gift. I got a special deal through my friend who works at the phone store." I could feel the familiar burn of tears threatening, but I refused to cry in front of everyone. Lily was looking up at me, trying to gauge how she should react. I saw the hurt in her eyes, but also her determination not to show it. "Your art set is perfect for you, sweetheart," I told her, squeezing her shoulder. "Grandma picked something you'll really use and enjoy." "Exactly," Mom said, seemingly relieved I wasn't making a scene. "Lily loves art, and Aiden and Madison need technology. It all evens out." Rebecca wouldn't meet my eyes, suddenly very interested in helping Madison with her phone settings. The painful moment stretched on as both Aiden and Madison became completely absorbed in their expensive new devices. While Lily quietly returned to her modest art set, her earlier excitement notably diminished. "Who wants more coffee?" Mom asked brightly, clearly trying to move past the awkward moment. "I'll help you," I said automatically, needing a moment away from the scene in the living room. As I followed Mom into the kitchen, I could feel the anger and hurt building inside me. Years of similar incidents flashed through my mind. All the times Lily had been treated as less than her cousins. All the times I'd swallowed my objections to keep the peace. But this time, Mom had made a specific promise and broken it spectacularly. In the kitchen, I took a deep breath and turned to face her, determined to finally address what had just happened. In the kitchen, Mom busied herself with the coffee maker, her back deliberately turned to me. The cheerful Christmas music playing softly in the background felt mockingly incongruous with the tension in the air. "Mom," I began, working to keep my voice level, "we need to talk about what just happened." She turned around with an exaggerated sigh. "Morgan, please don't start. It's Christmas." "Yes, it is Christmas," I agreed. A Christmas where you promised that all the grandchildren would receive gifts of equal value. Where we all agreed to a $30 limit. Those phones were a special circumstance, she replied defensively. Aiden and Madison needed them for school. In December? During winter break? I challenged. And if they needed them so badly, why wrap them as Christmas gifts? Why not give them separately? Mom's expression hardened. I don't have to explain myself to you, Morgan. Rebecca's children have certain expectations. They move in social circles where technology is necessary, and Lily doesn't deserve the same consideration? I asked, my voice rising slightly despite my efforts to remain calm. Do you realize what you've done? You've shown her once again that her cousins matter more to you than she does. That's ridiculous, Mom scoffed. Lily is younger. She wouldn't appreciate a phone anyway. I got her something she actually wanted. This isn't about the specific gift, I explained. Frustration mounting. It's about the message you're sending when you spend 25 times more on her cousins after explicitly promising equal treatment. The kitchen door swung open, and Rebecca walked in, her expression a mixture of defensiveness and discomfort. Everything okay in here? We can hear you from the living room. No, everything is not okay, I replied, turning to face my sister. Mom just broke a promise to treat all the grandchildren equally. And neither of you sees a problem with it. Rebecca crossed her arms. The kids needed phones, Morgan. It's not Mom's fault that your situation is different. My situation? I repeated incredulously. Yes, your situation, Rebecca continued, her tone becoming condescending. Maybe if you had made better choices in life, you'd be able to provide more for Lily yourself instead of expecting Mom to make everything equal. The comment hit like a slap. Better choices? You mean like not having my husband cheat on me? Or not choosing a profession that actually helps children rather than one that just makes money? That's not what I meant. Rebecca backpedaled slightly, though her expression suggested otherwise. Yes, it is, I insisted, years of resentment bubbling to the surface. You've always looked down on my choices. Both of you have. Dad was the only one who ever respected what I do. At the mention of my father, Mom's face tightened. Don't bring your father into this. He always coddled you. That was part of the problem. Coddled me? He treated me with the same respect he gave Rebecca. He understood that different doesn't mean less than. This is exactly why we can't have nice family gatherings, Rebecca interjected. You always make everything about you, Morgan. You've always been jealous of my success. I laughed bitterly. Success? Is that what we're calling it? Having a husband who buys you things and a mother who constantly validates you? What exactly have you achieved on your own, Rebecca? Mom slammed her hand on the counter. That's enough. I will not have you speaking to your sister that way in my house. Of course you defend her, I said, the pieces falling into place more clearly than ever before. You always have, ever since Dad died. It's like any pretense of equal treatment died with him. You're being dramatic, Mom dismissed. This is about Christmas gifts, not some grand conspiracy against you. It's not about the gifts themselves, I insisted, my voice breaking slightly. It's what they represent. It's watching my daughter's face fall when she realizes, yet again, that her grandmother values her less than her cousins. The kitchen door swung open wider, and Derek appeared, looking uncomfortable. Sorry to interrupt, but the kids can hear everything. Lily's upset. My heart sank at the thought of my daughter hearing this argument. Then Madison's voice called out from the living room. Mom, can Lily stop crying? She's being a baby and ruining Christmas. Rebecca turned to me with a reproachful look. See what you've started? Now all the kids are upset. No. What I see is that your kids are so absorbed in their brand new phones that they can't even show basic empathy, I retorted, moving past her toward the door. Maybe you should just go if you're so unhappy here, Rebecca suggested coldly. You're ruining Christmas for everyone with your jealousy. I paused and turned back to face my mother and sister. Jealousy? Is that what you think this is about? This is about my child being treated as less worthy of love and consideration than her cousins, year after year. And I've had enough. Mom's expression was a mixture of anger and dismissal. You've always been too sensitive, Morgan. This is why you struggle in life. You take everything personally. When it comes to my daughter, You're damn right, I take it personally, I responded, no longer caring about keeping my voice down. Derek, still standing awkwardly by the door, attempted to mediate. Listen, if this is about money, I'd be happy to. It's not about money, I exclaimed, appalled at the suggestion. It's about respect and fairness and keeping promises. Things that apparently don't matter in this family unless your last name is attached to a big enough bank account. Rebecca gasped. How dare you? After everything we've done for you. What exactly have you done for me, Rebecca? Remind me of all these generous acts of kindness. My sister faltered, unable to cite specific examples. Mom jumped in. We've always included you in family events, even when you bring down the mood with your constant complaints. Wow, I said, genuinely stunned by her perspective. Being allowed to attend family Christmas is now considered a charitable act. Thank you so much for your generosity. I turned to leave, but Rebecca's next words stopped me cold. This is why Brian left, you know. You were always focusing on the negative, always playing the victim. No wonder Lily is turning out the same way. The mention of my ex-husband was painful enough, but the attack on my daughter was the final straw. I turned slowly. My daughter is kind, empathetic, and grateful for what she has. She doesn't measure her worth by the price tag of her possessions or expect special treatment. If that's turning out badly in your eyes, then I feel sorry for your children. Mom stepped between us. That's enough, Morgan. If you can't be civil, perhaps you should leave. I looked from my mother to my sister, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity what I had tried to deny for years. You know what? You're right. We should leave. Because at least at home, Lily knows she's valued and loved exactly as she is. And with that, I walked out of the kitchen to find my daughter. I found Lily curled up in a corner of the living room, trying to make herself as small as possible. Her art set lay forgotten on the floor as she hugged her knees to her chest, tears streaming down her face. The sight broke my heart. Aiden and Madison barely looked up from their new phones as I knelt beside my daughter. Lily, sweetheart, we're going to head home, I said softly, wiping away her tears. Already? She asked, her voice small and wounded. But it's Christmas. I know, baby, but I think we'll have a better Christmas at our house. Just us. I helped Lily to her feet and began gathering our things. The atmosphere in the living room was thick with tension as I methodically collected our few gifts and packed them into our overnight bag. Mom emerged from the kitchen, Rebecca and Derek close behind her. Morgan, don't be ridiculous. You can't leave on Christmas morning. Watch me, I replied, zipping up Lily's backpack. Aiden glanced up briefly from his phone. Why are they leaving? We haven't even had Christmas breakfast yet. Because your Aunt Morgan is upset about your gifts, Rebecca explained, casting me a reproachful look. That's not true, I corrected, unwilling to let my sister mischaracterize the situation. We're leaving because Grandma made a promise to treat all her grandchildren equally, and she broke that promise. Madison rolled her eyes dramatically. It's just because you're jealous we got phones and Lily got baby stuff. Madison, Derek warned half-heartedly before turning to me. Morgan, this is unnecessary. Look, if it helps. He reached for his wallet. We can get Lily a phone too. The offer, though perhaps well-intentioned, felt like another slap in the face. This isn't about phones or money, Derek. It's about respect and keeping promises. Mom stepped forward, her expression a mixture of anger and exasperation. You're overreacting, as usual. This is exactly why family gatherings are so difficult. No, Mom, I replied, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. Family gatherings are difficult because you consistently favor one daughter and her children over the other, and I've allowed it for far too long. I turned to Lily. Go put your coat on, sweetheart. We're leaving. As Lily headed to the foyer, Aiden called out, Can I have Lily's cinnamon roll since she's not staying for breakfast? The casual callousness of the question hung in the air, but before I could respond, Mom was already saying, Of course, dear. I'll save it for you. I finished packing our things while Lily put on her coat and boots in the foyer. Rebecca followed me, lowering her voice. You're ruining Christmas for everyone with this dramatic exit. Is that what you want? What I want, I replied calmly, is for my daughter to be treated with the same love and respect as your children. Since that's apparently too much to ask, We're going to spend Christmas somewhere she feels valued. Mom joined us as I slung our bag over my shoulder. You've always been like this, Morgan. Always so sensitive, always feeling sorry for yourself. This is why you struggle in life. While Rebecca thrives, the comment stung, but I refused to let it provoke me. Goodbye, Mom. Merry Christmas. As we headed for the door, Derek made one last awkward attempt at peacekeeping. Let me at least give you some money for Lily. To make up for, we don't need your money, I interrupted. We need respect. There's a difference. I helped Lily into her coat and took her hand. Madison and Aiden had wandered into the foyer, still glued to their phones, but curious about the drama. Why are you crying, Lily? Madison asked, finally looking up. It's just a phone. You'll get one when you're older. It's not about the phone, Lily said quietly, surprising everyone. It's about being treated like I don't matter as much. The simple honesty of her statement hung in the air. For a brief moment, I saw a flash of something like recognition in Mom's eyes, but it quickly hardened back into defensiveness. No one is treating you that way, Lily, she insisted. You're just too young to understand. I think she understands perfectly, I said, opening the front door. Goodbye, everyone. Merry Christmas. The walk to the car felt like crossing a battlefield. The morning was bright and crisp, with fresh snow sparkling in the sunlight. A perfect Christmas morning that contrasted sharply with the turmoil inside me. Lily's hand was small and cold in mine as we crunched across the snow-covered driveway. From the porch, Mom called out one last attempt. Morgan, you're being childish. Don't ruin Christmas for Lily because of your issues. I helped Lily into the car without responding, then slid into the driver's seat. Through the windshield, I could see my family watching from the doorway. Mom looking angry, Rebecca smug, Derek uncomfortable, and the kids already drifting back inside, attention returning to their phones. As I started the engine, Lily's voice came from the back seat, small and wounded. Mommy? Does Grandma love Aiden and Madison more than me? The question broke my heart, and I had to take a deep breath before I could trust myself to answer. No, sweetheart. Grandma just shows love differently to different people. It's not your fault, and it doesn't mean you're any less wonderful or lovable. The explanation felt inadequate, even to my own ears, but Lily seemed to accept it with a small nod. As we pulled away from Mom's house, I glanced in the rearview mirror to see my daughter staring out the window, tears silently tracking down her cheeks. The drive home was painfully quiet. Christmas music still played on the radio, the cheerful tunes now seeming to mock our situation. I switched it off after a few minutes, unable to bear the forced joy. My phone began buzzing with texts shortly after we left. I ignored it until we stopped at a red light, then glanced down to see a series of messages from Mom and Rebecca. Mom, you're being ridiculous. Come back and act like an adult. Rebecca, way to ruin Christmas for everyone. So selfish. Mom, Lily deserves better than to have her Christmas ruined by your dramatics. Each message twisted the knife deeper. I turned off my phone and focused on driving. When we arrived at our apartment, the contrast between our modest decorations and Mom's elaborate Christmas display was stark. Our small artificial tree with its collection of handmade ornaments stood in the corner of the living room, a few wrapped presents beneath it. Paper snowflakes that Lily had cut out adorned the windows, and a string of multicolored lights framed our small balcony door. Lily went straight to her room without saying a word, the quiet click of her door closing like a gunshot in the silence of our apartment. I stood in the living room, surrounded by our humble Christmas decorations, and finally allowed the tears to come. After a few minutes of quiet crying, I pulled myself together. This was still Christmas, and I was determined to salvage it for Lily. I went to her door and knocked gently. Lily, can I come in? When there was no answer, I opened the door slowly to find her curled up on her bed, her back to the door. I sat beside her and placed my hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry about what happened at Grandma's, I said softly. She rolled over to face me, her eyes red from crying. Why doesn't Grandma love me as much as Aiden and Madison? The directness of her question pierced my heart. Oh, Lily, it's complicated. Sometimes adults have trouble treating everyone fairly, even when they should know better. Is it because we don't have as much money as Aunt Rebecca? She asked, her perceptiveness startling me. That might be part of it, I admitted. seeing no point in lying to her. Some people think money is very important, more important than it really is. Lily sat up, wiping her eyes. I don't need a phone, Mommy. I don't even want one. I know, sweetheart. I pulled her into a hug, breathing in the scent of her hair. And that makes me so proud of you. You understand what really matters in life. We sat in silence for a moment before Lily asked in a small voice, "What are we going to do for Christmas now?" It was a good question. Our holiday plans had revolved around spending the day at Mom's house. Now we were home, alone, with no special meal prepared and only a few presents to open. Well, I said, trying to inject enthusiasm into my voice, we still have presents to open. And we can make hot chocolate and watch Christmas movies. Maybe we can bake cookies later. We'll make our own special Christmas. Just us. Lily nodded, though she didn't look convinced. As I held her close, my phone lit up with another text. Though I couldn't see the content, the notification showed it was from Mom. I turned the phone face down, unwilling to deal with more accusations and guilt trips. In that moment, sitting on my daughter's bed in our quiet apartment, I felt more alone than I had since my divorce. I had just cut ties with my only family on Christmas Day, and I had no idea what would happen next. All I knew was that I couldn't allow Lily to be treated as less than her cousins anymore, even if it meant spending holidays alone. Mommy? Lily's voice pulled me from my thoughts. Yes, sweetheart, I'm glad we left. It wasn't fair what Grandma did. Her simple validation brought fresh tears to my eyes. Thank you for understanding, Lily. I'm sorry our Christmas morning turned out this way. She shrugged with a wisdom beyond her years. It's okay. I'd rather be here with just you than somewhere I feel bad. I hugged her tightly, marveling at her resilience and emotional intelligence. Me too, baby. Me too. As we sat together on her bed, the silence of our apartment was broken by an unexpected knock at the door. The knock came again, more insistent this time. Lily and I looked at each other in confusion. Who could that be on Christmas morning? I wondered aloud as I stood up. Maybe Grandma came to apologize, Lily suggested, hope flickering across her face. I didn't want to crush her optimism, but I seriously doubted my mother would drive across town to apologize. More likely, it was a neighbor with a package delivery or holiday greeting. When I opened the door, I was shocked to find Samantha, my closest friend and fellow teacher, standing there with her husband Mike and their 2 children. They were laden with grocery bags and wrapped presents. "Surprise!" Samantha exclaimed, her smile faltering slightly as she took in my tear-stained face. "What's wrong? I got your text that you'd left your mom's house early, but you didn't explain why." In my emotional state, I'd completely forgotten that I'd sent Samantha a brief message during a stoplight. "Leaving Mom's early. Back home now. I'll explain later. Can we come in?" Mike asked gently when I didn't immediately respond. "Of course. Yes," I stammered, stepping aside. "I'm sorry. I'm just surprised to see you." Lily appeared in the hallway, her face lighting up at the sight of Samantha's kids, Emma and Tyler, who were about her age. "Hi," she called out, suddenly looking more cheerful than she had all morning. As the children greeted each other, Samantha pulled me into a tight hug. "You sounded upset in your text," she whispered. "I had a feeling something was wrong, so we decided to come check on you. We brought food and some extra presents, just in case." The simple act of kindness broke the dam I'd been trying to maintain. Before I could stop myself, I was crying again, this time into Samantha's shoulder. Hey, she soothed, rubbing my back. "Whatever happened, we're here now." Mike tactfully suggested the kids go play in Lily's room, giving us adults some space to talk. As the children disappeared down the hallway, their excited chatter a welcome sound in the previously silent apartment, Samantha guided me to the couch. "Tell me everything," she urged, unpacking the grocery bags as she listened. And so I did. I poured out the whole story, the promise of equal gifts, the phones versus the art set, the confrontation in the kitchen, and the painful departure. As I spoke, Samantha and Mike exchanged glances but didn't interrupt. The worst part, I concluded, wiping away fresh tears, is that Lily asked if Grandma loves her cousins more than her. How do I even answer that? Samantha took my hands in hers. "First of all, you did the right thing by leaving. What your mother did was completely unfair, and the way she and your sister responded was emotional abuse. Plain and simple. Emotional abuse? Isn't that a bit extreme? I asked, though the term resonated uncomfortably. Not at all, Samantha insisted. Consistent favoritism, dismissing your feelings, gaslighting you by saying you're too sensitive or imagining things. These are classic emotional abuse tactics. And the fact that they're directing it at Lily too makes it even worse. Mike nodded in agreement. My sister went through something similar with our parents and our brother's kids. It took her years of therapy to recognize the pattern and stand up to it. Their validation was like a balm to my raw emotions. For years, I'd questioned whether I was overreacting, whether the favoritism was just in my head. Hearing them confirm what I'd experienced wasn't just real, but seriously harmful helped solidify my resolve. I've been making excuses for them for so long, I admitted. Always trying to keep the peace. Always hoping things would change. That's a common response, Samantha said. We're taught that family is everything, that we should forgive and forget. But there comes a point where staying silent is actually harmful. Not just to you, but to Lily. What would staying have taught her? Mike added. That it's okay to be treated as less than? That she should accept unfair treatment to keep others happy? I hadn't considered it from that angle before. In trying to maintain family relationships, I might have been teaching Lily all the wrong lessons about self-worth and boundaries. So what do I do now? I asked, feeling both lighter for having shared my burden and anxious about the path forward. You set boundaries, Samantha replied firmly. Clear, non-negotiable boundaries about how you and Lily deserve to be treated. And if your mother and sister can't respect those boundaries, you limit your contact with them. But they're our only family, I protested weakly, the familiar guilt creeping back in. No, they're not, Samantha countered, gesturing around the room. Family isn't just blood. It's the people who show up for you, who value you, who treat you with respect and kindness. As if to punctuate her point, my phone rang. I glanced at it, expecting to see Mom or Rebecca's name. But instead, it was Derek, my brother-in-law. Hesitantly, I answered. Hello? Morgan, it's Derek. Listen, I wanted to check that you got home okay. His voice was low, as if he didn't want to be overheard. We did, thanks, I replied, surprised by his concern. Good. That's good. Look, I just wanted to say, that situation this morning wasn't right. The way they treated Lily, I should have said something. His acknowledgement, though late, meant something. Thank you, Derek. Rebecca and I had an argument about it after you left, he continued. I don't think she sees it. Not really. But I do. And I wanted you to know that not everyone thinks you were wrong to leave. That means a lot, I said sincerely. I've got your gifts and Lily's things from Mom's house. I can bring them over later if that's okay. I agreed, and after a brief exchange about timing, ended the call. Turning back to Samantha and Mike, I summarized Derek's message. See, Samantha said, support can come from unexpected places. As we were talking, there was another knock at the door. This time, when I opened it, I found several neighbors from our apartment building. The Johnson family from across the hall, elderly Mrs. Peters from downstairs, and the newly moved-in couple from the end unit whose names I hadn't learned yet. We saw your car was back, Mrs. Johnson explained. We thought you were spending Christmas with your family, but since you're home, we wanted to invite you to our potluck dinner later. Everyone in the building who's around for the holidays is coming. Overwhelmed by the unexpected kindness, I found myself inviting them all in. Before I knew it, our small apartment was filled with people, laughter, and the impromptu sharing of food and gifts. Someone put on Christmas music. Mike and Mr. Johnson moved furniture to create more space. Samantha and Mrs. Peters organized an impromptu buffet from the various dishes people had brought. The new couple, who turned out to be professional bakers, produced an amazing chocolate Yule log they'd made just for fun. In the midst of the growing celebration, I sought out Lily, worried that the sudden crowd might overwhelm her. I found her in the center of a group of children, showing them her new art set and looking happier than I'd seen her all day. Mommy, look, she called when she spotted me. Emma gave me one of her presents because she got two of the same thing. And Mrs. Peters says she's going to teach me how to knit after New Year's. Seeing her joy, surrounded by people who had no obligation to care for us but chose to anyway, I felt something shift inside me. For years, I'd clung to the idea that Lily needed her extended biological family, even if that relationship was painful. Now I realize we'd been building a different kind of family all along, one based on mutual respect and genuine caring rather than obligation and blood ties. As the impromptu party continued, I found a quiet moment to check my phone. There were several missed calls and texts from Mom and Rebecca, ranging from angry accusations to attempts at guilt tripping. But there was also a message from Derek saying he was on his way with our things, and one from my school principal, who had heard what happened from Samantha and wanted to let me know she was thinking of us. Looking around at the gathering in our small apartment, I realized Samantha was right. Family wasn't just about blood. It was about who showed up when you needed them. And by that definition, we had more family than I'd ever realized. Later, when our apartment had quieted and Lily was playing with her new gifts, I sat with Samantha on the balcony, watching the snow fall in the darkening afternoon. "Thank you for today," I said. "You have no idea how much it meant to us." She squeezed my hand. "That's what family does, Morgan. The real kind, anyway." As I looked through the sliding glass door at Lily, happily explaining her art techniques to Mike, I knew we would be okay. The road ahead might be difficult as I navigated new boundaries with Mom and Rebecca, but for the first time, I felt strong enough to face it. "Lily said something interesting earlier," I told Samantha. "She said she'd rather be somewhere she feels valued than somewhere that makes her feel bad, even if it means missing out on things." "Smart kid," Samantha replied with a smile. "Much smarter than a lot of adults I know." "Yeah," I agreed, watching my remarkable daughter. "She really is." 3 days after Christmas, I sat in a corner booth at Cornerstone Cafe, nervously watching the door. Mom had finally agreed to meet and talk, after dozens of text messages ranging from angry accusations to hurt pleas. I'd chosen a public location deliberately, somewhere neutral where neither of us would feel the need to perform for an audience of family members. I'd left Lily with Samantha for the afternoon, not wanting to subject her to what might be a difficult conversation. Derek had brought over our things from Mom's house the day after Christmas, along with an awkward but sincere apology. Rebecca still wasn't speaking to me directly, communicating only through passive-aggressive social media posts about ungrateful people and Christmas drama. The cafe door opened, and Mom walked in, scanning the room until she spotted me. She looked older somehow, the lines around her mouth more pronounced as she frowned her way through the crowded tables toward me. "You picked somewhere all the way across town," she said by way of greeting, settling into the seat across from me. "I thought neutral ground would be best," I replied, pushing a cup toward her. "I ordered your favorite vanilla latte with an extra shot." She accepted the coffee with a small nod, but didn't drink it immediately. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us until the server brought my plain black coffee and then discreetly withdrew. "So," Mom finally said, "I suppose you want an apology." I took a deep breath, determined to stay calm and clear. "What I want is for you to understand why what happened on Christmas was so hurtful, not just to me, but to Lily." "It was just gifts, Morgan," she sighed, the familiar dismissal making my stomach tighten. "You've always been too sensitive about these things." "It wasn't just gifts," I countered. "It was a deliberate breaking of a promise you made. And more importantly, it was another instance in a long pattern of treating Lily as less valuable than her cousins. That's ridiculous. I love all my grandchildren equally." "Love isn't just what you feel, Mom. It's what you do. It's how you treat people. And your actions consistently show Lily that she matters less." Mom's face hardened. "So because I bought Aiden and Madison phones, which they needed by the way, I don't love Lily? That's absurd." "It's not about the phones specifically," I tried again. "It's about the pattern. The fact that you promised equal treatment, then gave gifts that were dramatically unequal in value. The way you brushed off Lily's feelings when she was hurt. The way you always take Rebecca's side, even when she's being cruel." "I do not always take Rebecca's side," Mom protested, though her tone lacked conviction. "Mom, when Rebecca suggested I was a bad mother because I don't make as much money as she does, you agreed with her. How do you think that made me feel? How do you think it made Lily feel to hear her grandmother essentially say her mother isn't good enough?" Mom stared down at her untouched coffee. "I never said you weren't a good mother. Not in those exact words. No. but your actions speak clearly enough." Another uncomfortable silence fell between us. I could see Mom's defenses working, the way she always managed to reframe situations to avoid taking responsibility. "I've been thinking a lot about Dad these past few days," I said quietly. Mom's head snapped up at the mention of my father. "What does he have to do with this?" "He always made sure Lily and I felt valued, even when you and Rebecca didn't. He was the balance in our family. Since he died, the favoritism has gotten worse, and there's no one to counteract it anymore." "That's not fair," Mom said, but there was less certainty in her voice. "Your father spoiled you. He always thought you needed extra attention." "He didn't spoil me, Mom. He treated me with the same respect and love he gave Rebecca. It only seemed like special treatment to you because it was equal, when you preferred it to be unbalanced." Mom's eyes welled with unexpected tears. "Is that really how you see me? As someone who deliberately hurts her granddaughter?" The vulnerability in her question caught me off guard. "I don't think you intend to hurt Lily," I said more gently. "I think you've convinced yourself that treating the kids differently is justified because of their ages or our financial situations or whatever other reason. But the impact is the same, regardless of your intention." Mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. "So what now? You're gonna keep Lily away from me as punishment?" "This isn't about punishment, Mom. It's about protection. Protecting Lily from feeling like she's less worthy of love than her cousins. And it's about boundaries." "Boundaries?" she repeated, as if the word were foreign. "Yes, boundaries," I confirmed. "If you want to have a relationship with Lily and me going forward, things need to change. I need you to commit to treating all your grandchildren equally, not just in what you say, but in what you do." "And if I don't agree to your terms?" she asked, a hint of her usual defensiveness returning. "Then we'll limit our contact," I said firmly. "I won't subject Lily to situations that hurt her. I love you, Mom, but I love my daughter more, and my job is to protect her, even if that means protecting her from her grandmother's favoritism." The bluntness of my statement seemed to shock her. "You would really cut me out of your lives over Christmas presents?" Again, it's not about the presents. It's about respect. It's about treating Lily with the same love and consideration you show Aiden and Madison. It's about keeping your promises instead of making excuses. It's about acknowledging when you've hurt someone instead of telling them they're too sensitive." Mom was quiet for a long moment, stirring her cooling coffee without drinking it. "I don't know how to be different," she finally admitted in a small voice. The admission, so honest and vulnerable, caught me by surprise. "You start by listening," I said gently. "By believing me when I tell you something hurts Lily, instead of explaining why it shouldn't. By making an effort to spend quality time with her, getting to know her interests. By celebrating her achievements the same way you celebrate Aiden and Madison's." As I spoke, Mom's phone rang. She glanced at it, then back at me apologetically. "It's Rebecca." "Go ahead and answer," I said. "I'd rather you did." She raised an eyebrow but took the call. "Rebecca?" "Yes, I'm with her now." "No, we're just talking. That's not what's happening at all." I could hear Rebecca's raised voice through the phone, though I couldn't make out the specific words. "Actually, Rebecca," Mom interrupted, her voice surprisingly firm. "Morgan has some valid points about how we've treated Lily. No, I'm not taking her side. I'm acknowledging that we haven't been entirely fair." I sat in stunned silence as Mom continued to push back against Rebecca's arguments, defending me for perhaps the first time in years. When she hung up, she looked both drained and somehow stronger. "She's not happy with me right now," Mom said, attempting a weak smile. "Welcome to my world," I replied, and to my surprise, she laughed. A short, genuine laugh that broke some of the tension between us. "I can't promise I'll get everything right immediately," Mom said after a moment. "Old habits are hard to break." "I know," I acknowledged. "I don't expect perfection. Just genuine effort and a willingness to acknowledge when you slip up." "And what about Rebecca?" "She's not likely to change her perspective." "That's between you and Rebecca," I said. "My boundaries are about how Lily and I are treated. I can't control what anyone else does, only how I respond to it." Mom nodded slowly. "So what exactly are these boundaries?" I laid out what I needed. Equal treatment of all grandchildren, respect for my parenting decisions, no comparisons between families, acknowledgement when mistakes were made. Basic courtesy, essentially, but spelled out explicitly because implicit understanding had failed us for so long. Mom listened, occasionally asking clarifying questions, but not arguing. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "I can try," she finally said. "That's all I can promise right now. I can try." It wasn't the enthusiastic embrace of change I might have hoped for, but it was honest. And honesty, I realized, was a solid foundation to build on. "That's a start," I said, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand briefly. As we prepared to leave, Mom hesitated. "Would you and Lily consider coming over for dinner this weekend? Just the three of us, no Rebecca's family. I'd like to give Lily her Christmas present properly, and maybe spend some time getting to know what she's interested in these days." The invitation, so simple yet so meaningful, felt like the first real step toward healing. "We'd like that," I said. "Thank you." The winter air was sharp as we walked to our separate cars. Before getting into mine, I turned to Mom one last time. "This was hard, but necessary." She nodded, looking thoughtful. "Your father would be proud of you for standing up for Lily. He always admired your strength, even when I found it challenging." The acknowledgement, so unexpected, brought tears to my eyes. "Thank you for saying that." As I drove home to Lily, I felt lighter than I had in years. The road ahead would still be difficult. Real change rarely happened overnight, and Rebecca was unlikely to support this new dynamic. But for the first time, I felt like we had a chance at a healthier relationship. When I walked into Samantha's house, Lily ran to greet me, her face eager. "How did it go with Grandma? Is she still mad at us?" I knelt down to her level. "It went better than I expected. Grandma's not mad, and she's invited us to dinner this weekend, just the three of us." "Really?" Lily asked, her expression a mixture of hope and wariness. "Will it be different?" "I think it might be," I said honestly. "Grandma's going to try to be better at showing you how much she loves you. And if things aren't better, we'll leave. Because you deserve to be treated with respect and fairness." Lily threw her arms around my neck. "I'm proud of you, Mommy," she whispered, "for standing up for us." Her words, so simple and sincere, confirmed what I already knew, that sometimes the hardest conversations were the most necessary ones. That teaching my daughter to value herself enough to demand respectful treatment was perhaps the most important lesson I could give her. "I'm proud of us too, sweetheart," I replied, holding her close. "I'm proud of us too." 1 year later, I stood in Mom's kitchen, helping her prepare for Christmas dinner. The aroma of roasting turkey filled the house, mingling with the scents of cinnamon and pine. Through the doorway, I could see Lily sitting cross-legged by the Christmas tree, showing Grandma the detailed sketchbook she'd been filling over the past few months. "You've really improved your shading technique," Mom was saying, genuinely interested as she examined each drawing. "That one of the winter lake is especially beautiful." Lily beamed under the praise, explaining her process with growing confidence. It was still strange sometimes, seeing them connect like this. Strange but wonderful. The past year hadn't been easy. After our coffee shop conversation, Mom had made genuine efforts to change, though there were stumbles along the way. Old habits died hard, and there were moments when I had to gently remind her of our boundaries. But unlike before, she now listened when I pointed out inequities, rather than becoming defensive. Rebecca had been a different story. Initially furious that I'd turned Mom against her, she'd refused to participate in any family gatherings that included Lily and me. For several months, Mom had seen Rebecca's family and us separately, a solution that was less than ideal but necessary for maintaining peace. The surprising catalyst for change had come from an unexpected source: Aiden and Madison. After spending more one-on-one time with Lily at Grandma's house without their parents present, they'd developed a genuine fondness for their younger cousin. Madison had even asked Lily to teach her how to draw, while Aiden had shown unexpected patience in helping her learn to skateboard. When the cousins began asking to see each other outside of obligatory family gatherings, Rebecca had reluctantly agreed to cautious reconciliation, though the relationship between us sisters remained cordial at best. Derek, to his credit, had been supportive throughout, often serving as an unofficial peacekeeper. "Penny, for your thoughts," Mom asked, interrupting my reflection as she joined me in the kitchen. "You've been stirring that gravy for 5 minutes straight." I smiled, setting down the wooden spoon. Just thinking about how much has changed since last Christmas. Mom's expression sobered. For the better, I hope? Definitely for the better, I assured her. And it was true. The most significant change hadn't been in Mom's behavior, though that had improved markedly. The real transformation had been in me, in my willingness to establish and maintain boundaries, to speak up when something felt wrong, and to model self-respect for my daughter. I'd received a promotion at school, moving from classroom teacher to curriculum coordinator, which came with a welcome salary increase. We'd moved to a slightly larger apartment closer to the school, and I'd finally been able to replace my aging car with a more reliable model. Nothing fancy, but dependable. More importantly, I'd found my voice. The strength I'd discovered on that difficult Christmas morning had spread to other areas of my life. I spoke up more at work, volunteered to lead projects I would have previously avoided, and even started dating again, cautiously and with Lily's blessing. The doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of the rest of the family. Mom wiped her hands on a kitchen towel and went to answer it. "Remember the agreement?" I heard her saying firmly as she opened the door to Rebecca's family. "We've all signed it, and I expect everyone to honor it." The agreement had been my idea, a written document that outlined our family gift policy for Christmas. Equal value presents for all grandchildren, with a specific dollar limit that everyone had signed off on. It might have seemed extreme to outsiders, but it had provided necessary structure for our healing family dynamic. Rebecca entered the living room, her expression carefully neutral as she greeted me. "Morgan, the house smells wonderful." "Thanks," I replied with equal politeness. "Lily and I brought the apple pie you liked last time." A year ago, such an exchange would have been unthinkable, not because of the words themselves, but because of the mutual respect they implied. We weren't best friends, and might never be, but we had established a workable relationship based on clear boundaries. Aiden and Madison immediately gravitated toward Lily, Madison showing off her new haircut while Aiden asked about Lily's latest art project. They were different children than they had been a year ago. Still privileged, still occasionally self-centered as all children could be, but more aware of others, more considerate. Being called out on entitled behavior had ultimately been good for them too. Derek gave me a warm hug, having become something of an ally over the past year. "Merry Christmas, Morgan. You look well." "Merry Christmas to you too," I replied sincerely. As we gathered around the tree later that afternoon for the gift exchange, I watched Mom carefully distributing presents. True to the agreement, each grandchild received gifts of equal value, thoughtfully chosen based on their individual interests rather than price tags. Lily's delight over her professional quality drawing set matched Aiden's excitement about his skateboarding gear and Madison's joy at receiving specialized dance equipment. Mom caught my eye across the room and gave me a small, knowing smile. We had come a long way from the previous Christmas's phone debacle. There were still moments of tension, still occasions when old patterns threatened to resurface, but we were working through them, sometimes awkwardly, sometimes painfully, but always moving forward. After dinner, as the family relaxed in the living room, Lily approached me with a concerned expression. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I asked quietly. "I forgot to get Grandma's present from the car," she whispered anxiously. "The special drawing I made for her." "Let's go get it together," I suggested, grabbing our coats. Outside, the winter evening was crisp and clear, stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. As I opened the car to retrieve Lily's carefully wrapped gift, she looked up at me thoughtfully. "Mom? I'm really glad you stood up to Grandma last year." Her words caught me by surprise. "You are?" She nodded solemnly. "It was scary, but it changed everything. Now Grandma actually listens to me when I talk. And Aiden and Madison are nicer too." "Sometimes the hardest conversations are the most necessary ones," I told her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "And it taught me something important," she continued, her 8-year-old wisdom sometimes taking my breath away. "It taught me that it's okay to say when something's not fair, even to grown-ups, and that real love means treating people with respect." I pulled her into a tight hug, marveling at the perceptiveness of this remarkable child. "That's exactly right, Lily. And it's a lesson some people never learn." When we returned inside, the family had gathered around the piano as Mom played Christmas carols. Rebecca moved over to make space for us on the couch, a small gesture that wouldn't have happened a year ago. As I watched Lily present her drawing to Mom, a beautifully rendered portrait of the two of them together, and saw the genuine emotion in my mother's eyes as she embraced her granddaughter, I realized that our painful Christmas confrontation had ultimately been a gift. It had forced us to address long-standing patterns that had damaged us all, and it had created the possibility for real healing. Family relationships were complex, messy, and sometimes painful. But with courage, clear boundaries, and a willingness to speak difficult truths, they could also grow and change. The journey wasn't over. Maintaining healthy relationships would require ongoing effort from all of us, but we had made a beginning. As the evening drew to a close, with Lily dozing against my shoulder and the Christmas lights twinkling on the tree, I felt a deep sense of contentment. We had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, not just as individuals, but as a family. So what about you? Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members, especially around holidays? Have you experienced favoritism or unequal treatment? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. If this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories about family dynamics and personal growth. Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves and our children is the courage to stand up for fair treatment, even when it's difficult.